You are not ready for this kind of power. Feel that sentence crawl up your spine. It's not a promise. It's a warning. And if you're still listening, it means you want to know what most people are too afraid to learn. Machiavelli taught kings how to win. He taught survivors how to survive. Today, we'll strip his darkest lessons down to their raw psychological core and show you how they map onto modern life, how to detach from the petty, how to craft an aura that bends a room, how to play the hidden game without being seen. This isn't motivation. This is a transformation. If that scares you, good. Fear is the fuel of mastery. Imagine walking into a room and having the temperature change because of you. Imagine words landing differently when you speak. Imagine feeling a calm that other people mistake for confidence and power that other people mistake for cruelty. What I'm about to teach you is not about cruelty. It's about architecture, building the inner fortress that refuses to break when the world tests you. This will force you to look at yourself and at others with a surgeon's eye. You will see motives where you used to see friends. You will see danger where you used to see coincidence. You will start to think in layers, and once you do, the world will never feel the same. Ready? Keep listening. Machiavelli was ruthless because he saw the world clearly. People act in ways that serve their ends, not your expectations. The most dangerous illusions are the kind that make you comfortable. Comfort kills strategy. So the first thing you must do is strip illusion. Ask yourself, which stories have you been telling yourself that make you soft? Which narratives protect your ego at the cost of your safety? The truth is, most of us live in the fiction of reciprocity. We believe kindness will be rewarded, loyalty will be returned, truth will be enough. That fiction is convenient. It also gets people destroyed. If you want to protect yourself, you must learn to be unreadable, not by pretending, but by becoming a person who is no longer controlled by predictable reactions. Detachment is not indifference. It is clarity under pressure. Imagine an enemy trying to bait you into an outburst. Do you hand them proof of your weakness, like an offering? Or do you respond in a way that reframes the entire interaction? The first time you practice detachment, it will feel cold. The second time, it will feel powerful. The third time, it will feel like breath. Detachment allows you to observe motives, to map intentions, and to act like a chess player who has already seen the moves. Now, let's talk about persona. Machiavelli argued that rulers should cultivate reputations that protect them. Reputation is armor, but armor is useless if it's flimsy. You must design a persona that projects consequence without screaming for attention. People will judge you instantly, and what they assume will become reality in how they treat you. So, what do you want them to assume? That you're not to be trifled with, that your patience is long, but your retribution is precise, that you laugh at threats but never forget them. The persona is not a lie. It's a negotiation. It's the agreement you make with the room about how you will be treated. Cultivate it deliberately. Control of the game starts with perception. You control what others can see of you. If you give them your emotions on a silver platter, they will consume them and use them against you. Instead, become an economy of expression. Speak little. Reveal less. When you smile, let it be an event. When you speak, let your words carry weight because you reserve them. People fill voids. If you leave silence, they will supply reasons to fear or respect you. Sometimes that silence will do more work than any argument you could craft. Silence amplifies power, but power without moral boundaries creates monsters. That's why we must be clear. Learning these lessons is not permission to exploit. It's a map to awareness. Learn how people manipulate, so you can spot it. Learn how people play games, so you can refuse to be a pawn. In modern life, the battlefield is not always a throne room. It's the board meeting, the dating app, the family dinner, the political forum, the negotiation. Knowing the rules allows you to choose whether to play. The highest power is the power to withdraw. Machiavelli prized adaptability. Fortune favors the person who can change strategy like they change clothes. Rigidity is a slow death. The mind that dies first is the mind that refuses to accept that the rules change. So cultivate versatility. Learn to speak different languages of status, to move between softness and coldness, to transform a weakness into a feature. If you want to dominate psychologically, become difficult to predict. Unpredictability breaks patterns of manipulation because manipulators rely on patterns. If you are a variable, you are unsolvable. Let's dismantle the myth of charisma. Charisma is not magic. It's leverage. The charismatic person understands rhythm, slow when necessary, quick when needed. They own pauses. They punctuate conversations with small lethal truths. They make others feel seen while subtly reminding them of their smallness. The trick is to make people crave your presence without needing to be loud. Create rituals of interaction, a specific look, a certain phrase, a consistent calm. These become hooks that anchor your persona to others' minds. Rituals breed expectation. Expectation breeds influence. Power leaks through the mouth. Don't hand your vulnerabilities to strangers. Confess to none who have stake in your ruin. Vulnerability is a currency. Spend it only with those who will use it to build rather than to bury. Use your energy strategically. People with weak boundaries confuse intimacy with exposure. Real intimacy is safe and rare. Foolish intimacy is dangerous and public. Raise your thresholds. Make emotional expenditure a considered investment, not an accidental donation. Another lesson from Machiavelli: the appearance of virtue can be more useful than virtue itself. That sentence will sting. Why should the look of good ever be acceptable while the real good is better? Because the world rewards perception. People make decisions based on what they see, not on what exists in the hidden vault of your soul. That reality is brutal, but useful. Present a version of yourself that aligns with the respect you demand. If people assume you are honorable, they will hold themselves to higher standards in your presence. If people assume you are ferocious, they will act accordingly. Perception shapes behavior. Behavior shapes outcomes. You must understand the mechanics of fear. Fear is not a weapon you wield by inflicting harm. Fear can be generated by consistent consequence. You generate fear by being predictable in your unpredictability, by letting people know that certain lines lead to certain outcomes, and then following through. Consistency in consequence is not cruelty, it's clarity. Threats that are empty create contempt. Threats accompanied by action create caution. People respect limits. They resent chaos. Be the person who enforces limits calmly and efficiently, and people will either respect or avoid you. Both results are useful. But fear alone isn't enough. People will obey out of fear, but they will follow out of love or respect. The most potent leaders mix admiration and apprehension in a delicate ratio. Admiration creates loyalty. Apprehension ensures boundaries. If you aim to dominate psychologically, learn to balance these poles. Be admirable enough to attract, strong enough to deter. Admiration without strength invites exploitation. Strength without admiration invites rebellion. Master both. Information is currency. The one who knows more can act sooner. Cultivate a habit of quiet intelligence gathering. Listen more than you speak. Watch how people position themselves, what they avoid, what they praise. The person who has the map of other people's desires can navigate the room like a surgeon. But information must be used responsibly. Knowing someone's weakness is not an invitation to crush them gratuitously. It's an opportunity to predict outcomes and protect yourself. The ethical application of knowledge preserves your integrity while sharpening your edge. Now let's talk about allies. Machiavelli warned rulers about false friends and fickle allies. Choose alliances as you would choose weapons, for usefulness, not sentiment. That doesn't mean you must be heartless. It means you must calibrate loyalty with rationality. People are investments. Diversify your alliances so your fate doesn't hinge on one unreliable node. Reward loyalty, but never confuse reward with ownership. Sometimes the most strategic thing you can do is to distance yourself from someone whose usefulness has expired. Cut with precision, not hysteria. Power also requires moral theater. Occasionally, you must perform for an audience that judges you by the script you offer. Rituals, public gestures, symbolic acts, these matter. They tell the world who you are before you decide to show it. Leaders who ignore public ritual underestimate how much social currency is shaped by appearances. Make your actions have meaning, even if the full truth is private. Public theater is a tool for shaping others' expectations of you. Control the tempo of your life. People often rush into decisions because of urgency created by others. You should be the person who creates your own rhythm. Set deadlines for others, not yourself. When you control tempo, you control psychology. Urgency pressures people into error. Slow deliberation invites clarity. Move slowly when others panic. Move fast when others hesitate. Speed is a weapon when combined with information and purpose. One of Machiavelli's cruelest insights is the importance of necessary cruelty. The idea that decisiveness often requires acts that others will call heartless. We don't celebrate cruelty. We celebrate clarity. Sometimes you must take actions that make you unpopular in order to secure a greater stability. Think of trimming a garden. You must cut branches to let the plant live and rise. The pruning is painful but necessary. If you want to occupy the space of power, you will occasionally have to perform pruning on your own life. Eliminate distractions, toxic ties, and self-deceiving comforts. That work is lonely, but loneliness breeds strength that comfort never will. Learn to use timing as a weapon. The person who strikes too soon exposes their weakness. The person who waits too long loses opportunity. Timing is the intelligence of patience. It is not passive. It is a prepared readiness to act at the precise moment advantage presents itself. Patience combined with readiness is lethal because it forces others to move into your frame. Anticipate reactions. Prepare contingencies. Have an exit before you enter. Power moves are not improvisations. They are rehearsed possibilities. Another psychological lever is scarcity. People ascribe value to what is rare, become scarce, not by hiding forever, but by being selective. Attend fewer events, answer fewer calls, be less available. Scarcity increases the perceived value of your time and attention. When people feel they might lose something, they take it more seriously. Make your attention matter. When you are generous with your presence, make sure the presence itself is a reward. Humility is a trick often misused as weakness. Authentic humility is quiet strength. Performative humility is a trap. Let your humility be real and rare. When you are genuinely humble in private, your confidence in public reads as calm assurance, not insecurity masquerading as modesty. People respect reality. Act with integrity, and you will gain a recoil capacity. People will test you less when they realize you are not performative. You must also master the art of strategic ambiguity. Clear-cut declarations can lock you into a corner. Ambiguity keeps options open. Say less about your plans than you know. Allow possibilities to float. People will project their fears and desires into your silence, and that projection can work to your benefit. Ambiguity is a mirror. It causes others to reveal themselves. The person who reveals too much is the person who gives away leverage. Empathy is not surrender. Many who study power confuse empathy with softness. Real power understands other people's motives because it can predict them. Use empathy to map others' emotional landscapes. Use that map to make choices that protect you and align with your objectives. Empathy used cynically is poisonous, but empathy used strategically is a shield. It prepares you for assault. It helps de-escalate. It allows you to negotiate. Use empathy to neutralize threats and to find a few who might become true allies. The practice of restraint multiplies power. The person who never acts impulsively becomes a standard by which others are measured. When you withhold, you conserve energy and moral capital. Conservation means when the moment truly demands it, you have reserves to commit with absolute force. Think of a coiled spring. The energy stored quietly is far more effective than constant motion. Save your escalations for times that truly matter. Machiavelli also recognized that sometimes you must appear to be one thing while acting another. Does that mean you lie? Not necessarily. It means you understand the utility of masks in social life. Masks are social contracts. A judge wears robes. A soldier wears armor. The mask tells people what to expect. Adopt a mask that secures your life. But never wear a mask so long that you forget who you are. Master tools. Tools are not identity. Use them and then put them down. Let's talk about decisive language. Words convey authority when used precisely. Avoid flabby expressions and endless qualifiers. Use short declarative sentences when you need command. When you must apologize, do it minimally and with clarity. Do not ramble. People expect those who know to speak with economy. If you are indecisive in language, you become indecisive in perception. Confident speech creates an internal gravitational field. People orbit it. Control your environment. Power is rarely won in chaos. It is accumulated in conditions you shape. Curate the people around you, the spaces you inhabit, the rituals you practice. Small changes in environment multiply. A tidy space frees the mind. A certain posture in your chair communicates confidence. The music you listen to governs rhythm. Replace passive habits with active designs. Design your life so that the default tendencies move you towards strength, not erosion. Be relentless about competence. Knowledge without application is vanity. Practice until the skill becomes habit. When you are exceptionally competent, your actions carry disproportionate weight, because competence breeds trust and trust breeds influence. Invest in learning that compounds: negotiation, strategic thinking, clear writing, emotional regulation. These are the muscles that sustain you when theater fails and the cold test arrives. Power also requires narrating your own story. Humans are meaning machines. We make sense of others through narrative. Tell a clear story about who you are and where you go, not by posting declarations on social media, but by aligning small actions into a coherent arc. If people can see the pattern, they will slot you into a narrative that explains you in terms of inevitability, and that inevitability will command respect. When you narrate yourself, you control the frame through which others interpret you. There will be costs. You will lose friends who thrived on your chaos. You will be accused of being cold. Power isolates because it requires boundaries that many once loved did not want. Accept the loneliness as the price of mastery. Loneliness is an instrument. It tunes you. Those who walk with you will be chosen. Those who don't belong will drift away. This is not tragedy. It is pruning. Reframe loss as refinement. Remember that influence is not permanence. The world shifts, loyalties evolve. Be prepared to rebuild, to rebrand, to let some things go. Reinvention is not failure. It is survival. The most adaptive people are those who can recast themselves as the world demands, without betraying their essential code. Keep your principles as anchors and your tactics as sails. Change the sails when the wind changes, but never cut loose the anchor if the shore matters. Finally, practice ruthless honesty with yourself. Pretending is the enemy of growth. Ask the hard questions. Where are you cowardly? Where are you soft because you are afraid? Which comforts have you mistaken for values? Replace comforting myths with grim truths. Once you see clearly, you can act clearly. Once you act clearly, you become dangerous, in the most useful sense, dangerous to your old limitations. If any of this sounds like it's asking you to become someone you despise, stop and listen to that feeling. The measure of wisdom is the ability to hold power without becoming corrupt. Use these lessons to defend yourself, to create boundaries, to refuse victim roles. Use them to build a life that cannot be bargained with and cannot be casually undermined. The world will respond to someone who is prepared. Now, here's a practical exercise you can begin tonight. Take one area of your life where you feel manipulated or uncertain. It could be work, family, romance. Observe quietly for 1 week. Note patterns without intervening. Who speaks first? Who interrupts? Who avoids consequences? After 7 days, map motives. Identify 3 small changes you can implement that create clarity: a boundary, a ritual, a withheld response. Execute them precisely. Do not explain. Let the change itself do the work. This is the economics of influence. Small, consistent acts create systemic shifts. If you want the dark lessons of Machiavelli to be a philosophy rather than a pathology, you must anchor them in ethics. Choose a code. Do no gratuitous harm. Protect the innocent. Act with clarity. Reward loyalty and prune without malice. Your code is a ledger that balances the calculus of consequence. Without it, power corrodes. With it, power secures. You are not ready for this kind of power. Yet, the sentence is a provocation, not a verdict. If you commit to the work, the quiet observation, the discipline of restraint, the cultivation of aura, the practice of timing, and the development of a moral theater, you'll become someone that others pivot around. You will have a kind of influence that does not need to shout. You will have the presence that does not seek permission. Stay ruthless in truth. Stay gentle in practice. Learn from Machiavelli not as a manual for cruelty, but as a map of reality. Power, like any force, can heal or destroy. Your choice determines which it becomes. If you want to go deeper, subscribe and join this movement of minds that refuse to be naive. We will study the most dangerous thinkers, not to emulate their worst, but to extract the mechanics of survival. This is not about becoming a villain. This is about refusing to be the victim of one. You have one life. Decide whether you will let it be shaped by others' whims or by your own code. Decide whether you will be readable or inscrutable. Decide whether you will practice the discipline it takes to be the kind of person others have to count on. The power is not a destination. It is a series of choices, a daily economy of attention and consequence. Make those choices with a ruthless clarity, and you'll find that the world shapes itself around the person who refuses to be naive. Do this work. Begin tonight. Observe, map, adjust. The first step is to stop pretending everything will fix itself. The second step is to stop telling stories that excuse passivity. The third step is to choose a code and keep it. If you follow this path, the transformation will be slow, precise, and inexorable. That is a real lesson of Machiavelli. The path of durability is not grand gestures, but consistent, hard choices that shift the balance of power over time. Now, before we finish, I want you to ask yourself a question. Are you becoming someone the world underestimates? If not, why not? Pride is a dangerous teacher. Humility without action is a trap. Use humility to learn, not to excuse. Use fear as a map, not as a jail. Use power to craft a life that is undeniable. And in doing so, you will become the kind of person whose quiet presence adjusts rooms. You are not ready for this kind of power yet, but you could be. The question is whether you will do the quiet work when no one is watching. If you do, the world will eventually notice, and when it does, it will either step aside or follow. Both are acceptable outcomes. Choose the path of discipline. Choose the path of preparation. Choose the path of moral clarity. And when you act like someone who knows the cost of failure and the price of discipline. This is your initiation. Welcome to the Shadow School. Keep your mind sharp. Keep your heart bound to a code. And remember, power without ethics is vanity. Power with ethics is sovereignty. If you want more lessons like this, practical, brutal, and precise, subscribe and prepare. The next lesson will teach you how to build an aura that freezes conversation and bends decisions. Until then, live with a surgeon's clarity and a warrior's restraint.